For this presentation, I will be exploring Proficiency 5, Reading in the Content Area. My first artifact addresses reading in the content area of English language arts. The main research article I'll be using to support my approach is Close Reading as an Intervention for Struggling Middle School Readers by Fisher and Fry. In part, this article has become really the backbone for the literacy intervention class that I'm teaching with my department head this semester. We have 3 struggling readers we're working with, and we're really trying to teach them how to unpack a text. We want them to be able to approach complex texts that are short, practice with them because these are the texts that they're going to be running into in all of their classes. We really believe it's key to have either at their level or even above their level texts and work with them using the processes that Fisher and Fry have outlined in their article. Fisher and Fry say that you have to have all the following components in order to truly get at a good close reading for students. The passages you read need to be short and complex. You have to reread them several times. Students need to be annotating for words they don't know, for the main idea, for any questions that they have, really interacting with the text as they continue on. You need to create, as a teacher, text-dependent questions. We are the teachers, we are the guides, we are the experts, and we need to guide students through these passages. And so you start simple with explicit questions and you build to implicit questions with them. Then finally, you really need a discussion of the text, including argumentation, to help students engage with the text. Why is this really important? Because reading in English language arts doesn't just mean reading Shakespeare all the time. We have to do 2 things simultaneously. We have to continue to teach students how to read and read well, and we also need to teach them how to read within our discipline. I'm going to read this quote here, but essentially really delves into what I just said. So for secondary school English teachers, the breadth of knowledge of the English language arts discipline expands to 2 branches of expertise, literacy and English studies. Our goals are twofold. First of all, we work to make students expert readers who can create texts as well as comprehend them, utilizing a multifaceted set of skills. Secondly, we train students in English studies, the body of knowledge that entails studying both canonical and contemporary literature, writing styles and approaches, literary analysis, composing rhetorically effective texts, to have them read, write, and talk as a junior member of this discipline by practicing the patterns of our habits of reading and thinking. These goals, as Hicks and Steff will eloquently describe, complement and dual each other. Neither can progress without the other. Middle school and high school English teachers are as responsible for teaching how to read, how to decode, how to comprehend in general, as well as how to read or comprehend our own difficult texts within our discipline, and while using reading to teach our domain as well, to help kids get to literary analysis, to help them read and understand punctuation. Like I said, we have a very multifaceted domain, and reading the content area isn't as simple as it first seems. So really, to quote one of the authors I had read last summer, we are building the plane while we're flying. Disciplinary literacy of English language arts includes body of knowledge, analyzing, critiquing text, that literary analysis. We create texts that enable rhetoric and reason. As I said, we read, write, talk, and reason as a member of the discipline. We have patterns. We're going to see in my next slide some patterns that one would take a look at, and habits of thinking. So that could go from different lenses, whether it's a feminist lens or a Marxist lens, or looking at the era that a text was written, romanticism, what it has to say about race, gender, others, really those habits of thinking that we have to train our students with. So here's an example of a text-dependent question that I had created, a general understanding, so it's an explicit one, up to the point in the story, what has happened, what is the literal storyline. Some of the habits of thinking in this passage We could look at repetition, why there's repetition, um, why there are no quotation marks, why is why are they called the sisters, really getting students to notice things like that. That's what it really means to read and write within the English language arts discipline. But reading isn't just contained to the English classroom. Case in point, I had the opportunity to aid in an economics classroom this past semester, and I spoke with the econ teacher and asked him if I could introduce the SQ3R concept to the students as they began reading the textbook. Research into reading comprehension and engagement demonstrates a model that advocated a strong foundation in basic reading skills no longer functions in our literacy-dependent society because the literacy demands of the workplace and the number of workplaces that require a certain amount of literacy has increased as well. Therefore, we can't just give a textbook to students and say, here, read it. The textbook itself was actually very well designed. It had essential questions. The famous Grant Higgins from Wiggins and Mateague from Understanding But Design was a main textbook consultant, but it was still an econ textbook. It was still a very heavy and dry material, and I really wanted to give the students a tool they could use to access that material. So I'm going to show just a little bit of the slides that I showed students last semester. I got the SQ3R materials from Professor David Eddyburn in his class that I took last summer, which was reading in the content areas. There are some of my references.